We made it. It is officially November 1st. So, for the next 30 days, I'm going to be trying to write 50,000 words of my thriller mountaineering novel that I've been planning the last month and a half. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel for the first time if you're finding this now. This is the first video documenting the drafting process of my novel, and I'm really excited to kickstart this thing. So let's cue the intro for the first time. What's going to be happening is I'm going to try to write every day if I can. To hit 50,000 words by the end of November, I'd have to do an average of 1,667 words a day, which might not always be possible. So some days I'm definitely going to have to write more to make up for other days where it just may not happen. I'm not completely starting from scratch, however. I have done some previous work, but for the sake of this competition with myself, I guess, we're going to say I'm at 0 words and we're going to try and get to 50K. But to give you an idea of where we're at just in the story and what's going on with this thriller novel, I'm going to send you back in time to learn a bit more about where we're at. I don't know if any of you have ever gone back in time before, but to make this work, we're gonna have to go outside. We are now outside. I don't know if you can see, but we have a little bit of snow coming down. I don't know if you'll be able to see that at all. But to go back in time, we're gonna have to count down 3, 2, 1. Thank you, future Josie, for that introduction. So I'm taking you back a few weeks and we're going to talk about what I've been doing secretly behind the scenes. But I'm going to do it inside because it's cold out here. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I'm not starting from scratch. I wrote a few chapters back when I first had the idea for the story because the first chapters came to my head first. I always get so jealous because I see people online talking about how they thought of the ending first and they worked their way backwards, or they thought of the big plot twist and from there structured the rest of the story. But that never really happens to me. I feel like most of the time I think of the story as a reader as the opening sequence where the main character is at emotionally, what their conflict is going to be, and the ending always seems so murky. But I really like to write those first few chapters when I have that idea to try and capture whatever emotion or atmosphere I had in my head when I first thought of the story. And that often triggers more outlining for me, more plot ideas. So I had 4 full chapters written going into this outlining, researching process in September. And then over the course of doing that outlining and researching, I wrote some flashbacks in order to try out dictating. And then from there, I let myself edit some of my dictated flashbacks. And then I also wanted to look back through those first chapters to make sure I was matching the tone. I knew where these characters were at. And I'm glad I did, because I also, one of my male main characters, in my outlining, I put him down as Greg, but in my original chapters, I'd written him down as Gary. So I had to choose one of the two, and I went with Greg since it was written in more places. So I went back, and then while I was reading those chapters, I couldn't help myself. I started to edit, add more description, add more stuff in there. And I had written also partially chapter 5, which then became chapter 6 because I put one of my flashbacks as a chapter for chapter 5. So then that new chapter 6, I've been working on the last few days because it was not in a good place. Like, I did not feel confident having that even as a first draft. So I went through this entire chapter, started expanding on certain sections, and then it started getting too long, and lo and behold, I decided to split chapter 6 into chapter 6 and chapter 7. So as you can see, this is slowly ballooning out of proportion, where I really just wanted this to be a final prep and start November 1st. So I'm deciding to do some clips now just in case I actually start really drafting, because I don't know that I'll be able to help myself. And I want to make sure that this is all documented, so that way when I look back, I'm not missing a huge chunk of the drafting process because I was just refusing to start a video until November 1st. So that's where we're at. I feel good about the chapter 6 that I expanded on. And now I'm going to work on chapter 7 and see where that takes me. I'm doing some field work right now, so that's why I'm not at home. We had some free time, so I decided, Jonah's here with me, to go on a hike, and this has to be one of the most beautiful hikes I've ever been on, which is why I wanted to show you what it looked like before giving you an update on the writing. It is just so beautiful. You can see some snowy mountains in the back, the trail where we came up on, and then this other mountain. It's covered in cloud. It was a little bit clear before, but we ate some food and it got a little cloudier. And then this is the site. Look at this frickin' glacier. And then you can also see all these other broken off bits everywhere. And it's all frozen, I'm pretty sure, the lake. But this has to be like top 10 views of my life. I've been currently working on chapter 7 still the last few days, doing like a few hours every day. And it's reminded me why I stopped here when I was first writing those handful of chapters, because this chapter is really tough. So I think of chapters usually as having like one goal, one thing it's trying to do. So it's like each chapter I can say, this is the one action that's happening, the one plot point that's going on. But there are also some other chapters where I'll use the analogy of if one of those chapters with one goal is like a meal, you also have other chapters where you're trying to do a lot of little things, almost like a charcuterie board. So in chapter 7, I'm trying to introduce different characters, show some insight as to the characters' conflicts with one another. The main character will also be undergoing her own little emotional arc and have her own moment in the chapter. So there's all these little things going on, and it's been really tough trying to find a balance. And so what I end up doing is I write it once, I don't really like it, so the next time I sit down to write, I'll go back through it again, tweaking things to see if I'm enjoying it, and I just keep going again and again and again until I'm happy with it. And I wrote for an hour this morning, and I felt pretty good about it. I feel like I have a vision now of exactly how everything needs to play out, so I just probably need 1 or 2 more writing sessions, and then I should be good on it. I'm back home. I've been home for a few days now, mostly dealing with a bunch of snow that we got while I was out doing field work. But I finally took this evening to do another pass through of chapter 7. It honestly looked really good. I was debating how much to put at the end of the chapter, and I was planning on doing maybe another kind of half scene, but I ended up stopping a little early, and I feel like the other stuff could happen off page, and then it would make it a bit more interesting for chapter 8, where I would start kind of the next morning, not have the reader know exactly what's going on the rest of that evening, because it's also like not a huge deal, and I think it would just take up more words for a chapter that's already a little on the long side. I think it's like 3,000 words for that chapter. So yeah, chapter 7 is done. I'm not going to do any more. Chapter 8 is going to be where I'm going to start off. It is October 30th, and I wanted to give myself some time in case I went and reviewed some of my other flashbacks that are later in the story, but I haven't actually done any writing since the last clip. I'm good to start November 1st, but I just wanted to do a recap of where the word count was at before we go back to 0 and count up to 50,000 in November. Over the 7 chapters that I've written to start this story, I'm at 14,290 words. But there's 3 flashbacks that happen later on that come up to an additional total of about 3,000 words. So in total, my draft is at 17,647 words. It's nice that I already have so much written. It makes me feel like I'm not kind of starting with a blank page, because I'm excited for chapter 8. It's the first plot point from the 3-act story structure. Essentially, after the inciting incident happens and your character has to make a decision, the first plot point is when they finally have made their decision and they're making their first kind of move. So I will see you guys November 1st, and we're gonna get this 50,000 started. Back already. Well, now you're all caught up. It is still November 1st. It's about midday, and we're on our way. We're driving to a cabin that we're gonna have to hike out to, and I'm gonna be there for the weekend without cell service, without my laptop. So if I want to get any writing done, it's going to have to be through dictation, so voice to text, which I'm a little apprehensive about, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I have done some writing. So last night, which you saw as the first clip of this video, I got a couple hundred words down, and then this morning before we left, I did a little bit more. So I'm currently at 1,207 words. But if I want to try and hit 50,000 by the end of November, the average is 1,667 words a day. So I will still have to get some more words today and hopefully this weekend. We are behind in our word count. I'll put up here what word count we're at right now, but I haven't actually been able to do that much writing while I've been here. I got like a few, not even 100 words yesterday, and then this morning I did a bit of dictation, which is what bumped me up to this amount. But we have to be at just over 5,000 words if we're on target to be hitting the 50K by the end of the month. So I'm gonna have to get caught up today. It's about midday right now. We're just about to head back to the car, probably be a few hour hike back, and then we'll have a few hour drive. So I don't know if I'll be able to get some dictation on the drive, probably not on the hike. And then when I'm home, we're just gonna have to grind through and do it. I'm a little disappointed because I was really hoping to keep up with it, especially because I practiced dictation before starting this rough draft process. But I'm also not too disappointed because I had a really fun weekend. Time to catch up, because I think it's always harder to be behind, especially in the first few days, because then it makes every daily average just increase. So if I can just push through, get to the 5,000 by the end of today, I think I'm setting myself up really well for this coming week. It is almost 9 p.m. which is technically 10 p.m. because today was daylight savings, so we went up an hour. And I've been working for about an hour and a half on my story, trying to get more words. I did go back through, and I'm still not quite through all the dictation because, sorry, that was Quali meowing in the background. But I'm still not through all the dictation words that I did, because even though I'm okay with first drafts not being the neatest, when I dictate, it's extra messy, and I don't think it's even good enough for a first draft. But we are currently at 3,530 words, which is great. So I got about just over 1,000 words in the last hour and a half, which is honestly slow progress. But we still have to write just under 1,500 words to be caught up for where I'm supposed to be today, which is a lot. So I'm going to keep going. I really want to try and hit 5,000 words tonight and catch up, but we'll see. I don't want to go too late because at the end of the day, I have another 1667 words to write tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. So it's not like I get a rest at any point, so I don't want to burn out completely and go to bed too late that it kind of messes me up for tomorrow. So I'll keep writing. I'll update you before I go to bed. I'm really hoping for the 5,000, but I'm just writing a little slow right now. I have hit 5,000 words. It's still November 3rd. It is almost 11, but I accomplished it. Very proud of myself. Now I get to do my tracker. So I did this tracker in my video that was like final preparations before November. And basically I've just got a tracker to 50K. I can put writing sprints over here, and then I also have 1 through 50 written in squares that I can color in. So I haven't touched this yet, so I have to fill it up and color in my 5 squares. Generally, I feel like I'm happy with what I've accomplished. I'm obviously happy I caught up. I was really worried that this would then be a full month of just trying to catch up, because it can be really tough once you're behind. But I do think that I'm struggling with writing fast, because I've been doing a lot of revising before this, and then also when I was writing in October, I was letting myself take my time with writing scenes and really figure out word choice and description, but that takes a really long time and it really slows me down when I'm actually drafting. So I'm definitely going to have to work on going a little bit faster. I think one of my goals for the month, though, was like taking my time when I'm writing. But if that puts me behind, it's just a balance of making sure that I stick with my daily word count without going so fast that I kind of lose the skeleton of the story and go too far off track, which at this point I feel good about. There we go. You can see I've done my first little lines. It's not super accurate, so it can be a little hard to see my progress, and then I've colored in my first 5 squares. I think as well, I'm obviously able to pull out more words when I need to, but I am worried that tomorrow, because now I'm not gonna be able to probably go to sleep for another hour because I'll need my brain to calm down after focusing so much. And then who knows, like I won't be able to probably get any writing tomorrow morning before going to work, which I really like to split up that 1,600 words for before and after work to make it seem like less effort, less time I'm spending doing it. So something that I've been considering is that I have another cabin trip coming up next weekend. And based on my experience from this cabin trip that I did this weekend, I'm not very good at getting those words out at one of these cabins because the dictating is just like not working for me right now, and maybe it's just a matter of needing to do it more. But I think one of my goals for this upcoming week is going to be to try and get it a little bit ahead, at least maybe a full day ahead. I don't know if that's too ambitious, especially because I've done a lot of writing today, so tomorrow might also be difficult to try and get some words down. But, you know, we're day 3, we're still on track, things are looking good. What more can I ask for at this moment? That's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way through till now, and I'll see you next time.